The NFL Combine begins this weekend, which means the men in shorts fetish can have a nice weekend. I'll be the guy watching the repeats next week out of sheer boredom. Sorry about the echo. Things happen in Google Hangouts. But I assure you that Sharona is having a better week than her former boyfriend, Delaney Walker, and I'll let her explain that one. We have another special guest coming to us from the West Coast. We'll see what he has to say about it. So, Sharona, have you been hacking any Instagram accounts this week?
I have to say that I have. And I'm apparently the person responsible behind the echo here. So, yeah, Delaney had a little bit of a tough Valentine's Day. But he might actually deserve it because apparently he's a pretty crappy boyfriend. So, yeah, Delaney, I don't think you want to be breaking up with her anymore on Valentine's Day. So, and congratulations on you. Getting ready to have your baby pretty soon.
You broke up with a pregnant girl on Instagram?
Well, no, he apparently breaks up with her every Valentine's Day. And he did it this year, and she posted a bunch of personal information about his proclivity to elicit the company of other women.
Gotcha.
And that she was pregnant.
And
then he came back with the sorry guys, I was hacked.
Ah, yes. The ultimate denier.
Mm-hmm.
Say whatever you want. I was just hacked, you guys. Come on, seriously. I'd never say that.
I still love you, Delaney, but you are a crappy friend. That'd last once with me. You'd break up with me once on Valentine's Day, and that'd be it.
Gotcha. Oh, yeah. So since our echo is so lovely, we'll get to the guy who doesn't have one and has actually interesting things to say about the draft. So tonight's guest is the biggest Teddy Bridgewater fan on the planet. How did this TV and movie guy get to LA via Seattle and Minnesota? We'll find out tonight. As tonight's guest, Josh Custer, tells us the inspiration behind how Draft Breakdown became the one-stop shop for tape review of NFL prospects. So, Josh, how's West Coast living, and are you hitting the Laguna Fest hard?
Loving being back on the West Coast. It's significantly warmer than it is out there in Georgia, where I was recently hanging out with you. It's been about 80 degrees every day since I've been back, so I can't complain too much. But yeah, I actually had a job this year that had me working on Saturdays, so I've actually been watching a lot more tape this year than previous years. Because how I've been catching up to, trying to see all these prospects that are going to be coming out this year. This is a big time for us over at Draft Breakdown, especially now that the Combine is garnering so much attention. It's going to get a lot more people to come in looking for guys that they saw perform really well. And usually this is a big time of the year, just before the draft for popularity at the site to go up.
How many guys do you typically look at in a calendar year?
Calendar year? Well, usually I'll look into a bunch just on my own, but if I'm doing it just for the breakdown and just for making the videos, I probably make 20, 30 videos a year.
No.
But I'll watch for plenty, 10 times that,
right.
Just to get a good idea of guys that are out there. I tend to gear my focus more towards, my team's the Vikings, so I tend to gear towards more guys that are going to be, I think, will be by them than as opposed to other teams that maybe runs a different scheme offensively or defensively. But that's generally where I tend to focus more.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And when I was doing draft work, that's what I would do, would be kind of looking at guys that I thought the Titans might be interested in, or might fit what they're doing. It's just easier. There's so many guys out there now. It's really hard to look at everybody.
Oh yeah, and it's tough to even claim, to look at as many as I do. I think is tough, and I know there's more people that do this a lot more often and work a lot harder than I do. And I just can't imagine being that up to date on so many prospects. I mean, there's 256 draft picks every year, and I could say on a good year I know a lot about half of them, maybe a little bit more than that. But at the very least, I recognize that many names. But to say that I watched and feel like I understand who they are as a player, yeah, it's way closer to 100 to 150.
Wow, that's a lot.
So
Yeah, by the way, if you're watching out there, if you haven't checked out Draft Breakdown, you're missing out. They do fantastic work over there.
Well, thank you. We try.
I use it every year.
Thank you.
How'd you get started in film review business, and then how did you end up at Draft Breakdown?
Well, I started off as a writer, like most folks who get into it. I already had the passion for, the NFL and the college game, and I really enjoyed watching guys who I would watch in college go on to the NFL and see how well they did. And so I started off writing for a site on Fansided with John Dove and James Madsen. Way back then, we even had our own podcast back then, which was really cool because we got to interview guys like Richard Sherman before he got really popular. He was a really nice guy. And after we got shut down at Fansided, all three of us moved over to Mocking the Draft, SB Nation's draft site. And when they went through their transformation and upgrades a few years back, I had already started cutting so that we could use it for all of our writers at Mocking the Draft could use and watch and get an idea on players. And once I stopped writing for Mocking the Draft, I started doing the videos more often because I thought, maybe I'm not writing, but I can definitely contribute to the community by putting out content that the guys who can write well can then use as part of their writing. And not long after I stopped Mocking the Draft is when I got asked to go and work with the Draft Breakdown and do the cut-ups there, and been doing that now, gosh, I want to say 2-3 years. Actually, been a lot longer than I think about it. But I've really enjoyed it. It's a great group of guys, really dedicated to the draft and understanding what's asked of these guys and how we can best get that across in our videos to fans when they come and watch at our site.
Now, do you divvy for all the Washington players, and how do you divvy up the film work and all the cut-ups?
Oh, I try to, I definitely do a few Washington players, but I try to, branch out as much as I can. We have so many guys, and they tend to hit up a lot of the bigger name folks, so that's why we end up having 10 great games of Marcus Mariota or Jameis Winston, because we got plenty of tape on them, and we have guys ready to churn those out. Whereas like the last smaller school guys, I made safety Fritz Etienne of Memphis and his cohort Bobby McCain, cornerback from Memphis. I'm going to say it out loud. Jarkiski Tart, he's a safety for Samford. Also got to look at him. Just trying to, Vikings could use another safety next to Harrison Smith, and it could be a year to grab one to either rotate in there at that other spot or develop for future years. So I'm trying to see if there's anybody out there that could fit that spot, not necessarily the top of the class guys like you hear about now, like Landon Collins, for instance. He's been kind of since his top safety for a while. Hidden gems if they are out there.
Well, how's the site kind of updated itself? Kind of refresh on Draft Breakdown?
Can you say that again? Sorry, the echo threw me off.
That's throwing us all off. How is Draft Breakdown kind of refreshing itself in 2015?
Zach, I'm not even getting you.
Oh. Well, how is Draft Breakdown refreshing for 2015?
Oh, well, we did just come up with a brand new site design. I feel like it's has a much better flow to it. It's easy to get right to whether you want to, go to specifically prospect videos, or if you're looking for a specific article that one of our new writers put out. It's a lot easier to find your way, navigate the site that way. The videos work so much better on like your phone now. That's actually one of the fastest growing ways people watch our videos is watching them on their phones. And just little redesigns to just make it more user friendly. Now you can even sign up for the site, build your own mock drafts, leave your own notes on prospects videos pages. Just get an idea. You throw out there what you saw, and maybe someone else saw it or saw something different. It'll help spark some conversation about draft prospects.
Well, what do you think of this class as a whole? It seems like they're not a bunch of guys who are really top 10 talent.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting class, especially after the success that this last class had right out the gate. I don't think you're going to have nearly as many instant impact guys, particularly at wide receiver. There are some, depth. There's plenty of talent at the skill position, but I don't think it's going to last you the entire first round. There might be, as opposed to last year, where maybe there was 25 to 30 guys who are obviously top tier talent. You want to grab them when you can. That might be shortened up to more 10 to 15 this year, and so I would say it's a quality draft. You're still going to get some really good guys in that second day, the second, third round, even down into the fourth round, before it starts getting more of a prospect-y kind of. I hope we can get this guy to work out. But so it's a deeper class, but it's not as top-heavy. Is the short way of all that.
Every year we hear this is the best draft class ever. Or it's the deepest class ever. Do you think we'll start to hear that with this one?
Well, definitely not the best class ever. Especially considering how poor the quarterback class is looking right now. I don't think this will ever be considered that great of an overall class. But you will definitely be hearing about how it's deep at running back, deep at wide receiver, deep along the defensive line. I haven't watched that many O-line prospects, but I'm told that it's a fairly deep class, especially if you need an interior offensive lineman. But yeah, with quarterback being as low as it is, it's not a very good tight end class or deep tight end class. Cornerback, there's plenty of talent, but I feel like because of how valuable that position is, most of the talent's going to be gone by the end of the second day. I mean,
a lot of teams out there needing secondary help.
Oh yeah. Safety, I think, and guard have been two of the least talented positions. Not necessarily there's no talent there, but you're either really good or you're not that great, and there's no real in between at those positions, it seems.
But it's interesting, Josh. Like Matt Elam, Kenny Vaccaro, and who's the other kid? Well, C.J. Stringer. Both very, very, very highly regarded. All really highly regarded prospects, and start out well maybe and struggling now.
Well, it's kind of funny you mentioned particularly Swearinger and Elam. I felt what really got people excited about them was they had those highlight reel, big hits. They were big hitters in college.
Right.
And you can be a bigger hitter in college, I think, than you can be in the pros, because in college you can be a little bit looser. Maybe they were the best guys at their position in college,
right.
And it's a little bit more. Whereas in the NFL, look, we need you to do this job. You have to be solid at doing this, not necessarily running as fast as you can and running into somebody and knocking them over, because that's not going to help them as much. If you see so many safeties and linebackers these days, they want to do that old hit stick. They want to run a guy over.
They've got to be good in coverage now.
Oh yeah, got to be good in coverage too, and you have to be able to tackle. There's so much bad tackling out there, especially in the secondary of most teams, and especially at safety. I mean, that's your last line of defense. If you're going to count on him to be the last, the guns, he has to be able to tackle correctly the first time. He can't be letting any loose tackles go away.
Yeah, I think tackling overall is for a while now.
I would agree with that.
In their defense, gosh, the NFL just keeps changing the rules, and you can't go high, can't go low. It's hard.
Yeah. I actually feel for most defenders because everything is working against them rule-wise. If a defender might be coming at an offensive player, but all the offensive player has to do is crunch into a ball, and even if the defender was already aiming at their chest, the fact that the offensive player kind of ducks to protect themselves and they end up hitting them in the head, it's like, well, they weren't headhunting or anything. They were actually going for the target zone, but because the offensive player moved to defend themselves the last second, it looks so much worse in real time than what it may actually be.
Yeah.
And the refs are being told, throw the flags, sort them out later. And I think it really hurts the defensive play because you handcuff those guys.
I think the NFL somewhat understands some of that, because you remember a couple of years ago, they were trying to do this thing where they were going to penalize running backs who, dug their head, and that did not last long.
Nah, I don't see that happening very often. I wish that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say Zach was making motions in the background. I don't know what he's making motions in the background. I don't know what he's
banging, obviously.
He's banging. His fingers all back there.
I feel like I have to do, move my hands.
I was going to say, it seems like most of the rules are geared more towards protecting the offense.
Like myself.
We're going to have to make Zach sign everything.
Yeah, that way everything lines up correctly.
Let me ask you about Shane Ray, Josh. I'm curious what you think about him.
Well, I haven't actually seen much of Shane Ray. He does seem to be quite a conversation starter in draft circles this year. Sadly, the only time I've actually seen him play this year, I can't remember if it was the SEC championship game where he came off the edge, hit the quarterback, and I mean he was out of the game within the first 5 minutes. So I haven't seen much of him. I know people like him because of his speed off the line, and that's usually something that's highly valuable for a pass rusher. If you can get off the line of scrimmage as fast as possible, even preferably before even the offensive linemen react. That's definitely a desirable trait. I haven't seen enough of him to say, hey, top 10 player or best pass rusher in this class, but people seem to think that that's the case with him.
Some guys develop draft crushes. I always had a crush or two or three. I mean, I was on the Jamie Collins bandwagon before anybody. But anyway, do you do that? Do you have a draft crunch?
This year, I do have a draft crush, and it's actually saying a lot, I think. Very mature of me to like this player because he plays for my alma mater's rival.
Oh no!
Yeah, I know. He's got to be good then, right?
Yeah, right.
His name is Xavier Cooper. He's a defensive lineman for the University of Washington State. We were just talking about players, defensive linemen who are quick off the snap and how valuable trait that is. That's something that is, the main part of Cooper's game. He plays 3-tech and 5-tech for the Cougars, and what he does better than I think most players in this draft is he fires off the line. He's quicker than most offensive linemen, and if you watch a few of his games, you'll notice how often he's off at the snap and he's into the guard, excuse me, or the tackle's body before the ball has even gotten to the quarterback. And if he could develop a counter he loves using a rip move to get around him. If he can develop a counter to that, I think that would really go a long way.
What size is he?
He's a big kid. He's 6'4", 300 pounds. I think people will know more about him after this week, after the combine. I don't necessarily think he's going to be putting up the best numbers around, but he's going to put up really good numbers and get a lot of people notice where, hey, I've heard of that guy before. He did really well at the combine. Maybe I should check him out some more, and maybe he'll be one of those later risers. But for now, I see him more as a late day 2 at the best, end of round 3, or maybe early in the 4th round. And I would love, personally, like I was saying, I like scouting him for the Vikings. Adding him to their defensive line rotation, I think would be big gift for them.
I did an interview. I was involved with an interview with, what is your defensive lineman, Vikings defensive lineman? He just got a big contract last offseason.
Everson Griffin?
Yes.
Everson Griffin?
Yes.
Everson.
Nice guy.
I was a big fan of his. Coming out of USC, I was really surprised when the Vikings were able to get him at the top of the 4th round when he came out. But he clearly had some off-field issues. I think after his rookie season, he got arrested twice in the same weekend. But I mean, he's obviously come a long way since then. We're really happy to have him as a Viking.
Yeah, he just. I think they're probably married now, but he got engaged. Yeah. I have to ask you. I don't know if you can see. I'm wearing my UT stuff.
Is that a Tennessee shirt?
It is a Tennessee shirt. I have to ask you, what is up with Corderell? He kicked somebody's dog. He had to.
Well, maybe he outran the dog. And, they're a little mad that he was a little bit faster. No. His issue, I think, tends to stem more from he got by just being the best athlete on the field for so long. And now it's more of he's really got to refine the technical aspects of his game. And I think if he can get a handle on that, then yeah, he'll be great. If not, I would love to see him get some more handoffs. Who cares if people can kind of see that kind of thing coming? Maybe fake him out with that. Give him those looks. His speed is something defenses have to account for. So make them think about it. Even if he isn't necessarily producing 100-yard games. If he's that 4th wide receiver, 3rd wide receiver, use him as that mismatch in the slot. I think that would be how they could maybe ease him in if he's not up his game.
When you do,
but I was a big Cordell Patterson fan.
Do you have to shut off the off-the-field concerns?
I try to. I understand. That they are something that front offices look at. There are some that are worse than others. And you definitely don't want someone who's beating up their girlfriend off the field. That kind of thing is immediate, not interested kind of deal for me. But I don't, okay, maybe getting busted multiple times on drug tests, as long as it's just for pot. That doesn't bother me as much. It's a bit of a red flag in that, were they just immature and that's why they kept getting caught and they didn't
are they
see the
addicted?
error in their ways? Yeah, and maybe it's more of a thing where now they realize, okay, yeah, I can't just get away with anything that I want. Whereas opposed to, like you mentioned, maybe they have a psychological or physical issue where they can't get away from it. So, and that's kind of the kind of thing that we don't really have access to all the time from our vantage point outside of the NFL. But I believe that that's something that they do look for. Just I don't know how harshly they particularly judge things, because everyone has, I don't want to say their own moral code, but I'm not as bothered by a couple of pot arrests versus, say, if he got busted just once for cocaine, I'd probably question his decision making. But everyone's kind of got their own leeway on those things.
Yeah, I fall in line where you are. I mean, kids are going to be kids. We all did stuff when we were young, right?
Especially in college, which is where all these guys are.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think they're still 18 to 22 years old, most of them. They're still relatively young. I still do lots of stupid stuff. I did even more stupid stuff when I was that age.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Let's let me ask you about Johnny Manziel. He's in rehab. He knew that he had that party mentality. Did you see anything? Did you see that coming?
I mean, I don't want to say obviously I saw it coming. It was more of it seemed pretty likely that he was going to get in trouble off the field at some point. Maybe trouble is the wrong word necessarily. He was going to cause headlines off the field for sure. Maybe he wasn't ever going to get arrested. Maybe he wasn't ever going to necessarily get suspended, but he was going to do something that was going to get people talking. I tried to avoid that kind of stuff when I looked at him in the off season. Mostly when I saw him, I saw a guy who relied way too much on improvisation and his teammates' abilities to get open.
What would Johnny Manziel be without Mike Evans?
Not nearly as liked. Well, I mean, he probably would still be as liked. I feel a lot of the reason people liked him was his off-field persona and how he was kind of I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love to go party with Johnny Manziel. I didn't want him to be my team's quarterback. I'm sure he's a great guy. Doesn't mean I want him, pay him millions of dollars to run my franchise.
Right.
I was more concerned with the on-field stuff than the off the field.
So you still giddy that the Vikings got Teddy Bridgewater?
Oh, absolutely. I can't tell you how good it feels for the first time in a long time to go into the off season and not be questioning who's going to play quarterback next year and how well they will do it. I guess this is what the old Colts team, or still the Colts, when they had Manning and now Luck. This is how Patriots fans must feel having Brady all these years. Just kind of okay, if we can just handle this ancillary outside stuff, and we have the guy to get us to the promised land. And I feel that way with Teddy. I just hope that they can continue to build that team around him. I have a lot of optimism for this team and coaching staff.
You look at the teams that are in the playoffs consistently, they have franchise quarterbacks.
And there's just only so many of them, too. And to be able to get one it's kind of like winning the lottery. There are 32 starting jobs, but there's maybe 5 to 6 guys who are really that good.
The Vikings are saying that they think Adrian Peterson's going to be back. I really kind of fell in love with Jarrett McKinnon. Fantasy-wise, I play fantasy football. What's the situation there?
What's the situation there?
Well, I think that's the thing with Slick Rick, as we like to lovingly refer to the GM, Rick Spielman. You know, he had that famous ready to train Percy Harvin, which I always thought was kind of funny. It's like, sure, you know, I don't intend to sell my car either, but if you're going to come over here and offer me $1 million for it, yeah, I'll give you my car. So, yes, and you know, I honestly wouldn't mind seeing Adrian Peterson back, just because I always was a fan of his on the field.
I think he should play again. I'm in favor of.
Oh yeah,
I'm in favor of him.
Me too. Like I say, like a lot of people, I was pretty soured. But he wasn't on the team this year.
Right.
But you know, I feel like he's, you know, like anybody like that, he's served the time. He's gone to court over it. Everything seems to have been settled between him and the mother of his children. So yeah, why not let him come back? And again, he's a fantastic talent. I would. Putting him and McKinnon out there sounds like a win-win to me. You know, I was also a big fan of his. I thought it was pretty disappointing that he got hurt, but he comes back. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, I actually kind of questioned the Vikings' use of McKinnon too. Who was the other guy they just were insistent on using? Asiata?
Matt Asiata.
Yeah, Matt Asiata.
And I love me some Mike Zimmer, but
yeah. Well, the thing with Asiata was he did offer something different to McKinnon. McKinnon, yes, he can run between the tackles, but what he really offers is speed. So it's nice that he can hit that speed between the tackles, but he really scares people, you know, going off tackle and getting to the edge and getting big yards that way. You bring in Asiata. Wish I could remember the name of the original running back that had, you know, this applied to him, but he's that 3 yards in a cloud of dust running back. If you need 2 yards, he's going to get you 3 yards. If you need 5 yards, he's going to get you 3 yards. And that's just kind of the guy he is. He's going to get you some positive yardage.
He's basically Sean Green, isn't he?
Touchdown. Yeah, a much cheaper Sean Green for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Titans, you know, we're in a very giving mood that off season.
Yes, they were.
So there are positions you prefer to scout, and are there ones that are just really hard to do because of the film?
I kind of like doing the wide receivers and linebackers personally. The toughest to cut, though, is pretty much anybody in the secondary, just because the broadcast usually tends to focus more on where the ball is as opposed to where it's going. So once the quarterback starts taking his drop back, everybody that was in the back of the defense goes off camera, so you don't really see a lot of times, unless there's a replay, what they were doing when the camera wasn't on them. And so that usually makes it a really tough evaluation.
Is it hard to get all 22 for college?
Yes. Not many universities, have that unless it's for their own coaches and for their own staff. It's not something that they're just like, hey, anybody who wants it, come take this video. But at Draft Breakdown, we've gotten a few sources, and we're actually been cutting up a few more games in the 22 format, just so you can get a better look at some secondary guys. Like we mentioned Landon Collins earlier as a top safety prospect. We just had a video, I believe it was Alabama versus Ole Miss, all 22, so you can get a much better look of what they asked Collins to do and what he's doing on a play-by-play basis.
So do you have a dream partner for breaking down film, like someone you want to break down film with?
It's always been kind of a solo endeavor for me. I mean, gosh, but just to watch him break down a prospect, and not really a dream person per se, but I really enjoy like Matt Waldman's, his RSP film room. Usually he has some former player or some writer that come on with him, and they'll watch a couple of tapes and break them down. And I really do enjoy watching that. But I don't know, you kind of stumped me here, Zach. I hadn't thought of a dream scenario like that before.
Well, start dreaming. So what about like in Dynasty redraft, like rookies that we could look up in fantasy?
Wow, so you, like guys that would be in this draft that you'd want for fantasy next year?
Yeah, like the running backs, probably just running backs and wide receivers.
Well, I hate to give off suggestions only because we don't know where any of these guys are going to end up.
Really?
Yeah.
But
Amari Cooper, you're going to want to snag Amari Cooper, right?
I'll probably, I mean, again, depends on where he ends up. If he ends up for the Vikings, yeah, because he's probably going to be a guy who sees a lot of catches, because he'll probably, be that quick slants, get 5 to 10 catches a game kind of thing. But if he goes to, I don't know, say
Tennessee,
San Francisco, Tennessee, Kansas City, who apparently doesn't even throw touchdowns to their wide receivers. He's not going to be a guy that you're going to be looking for. Running backs, man, I'm really excited to see how healthy he is, first of all, but also where Todd Gurley goes. He's definitely my favorite running back in this draft. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes. Same with Melvin Gordon, who I'm not as high on as a lot of other people, but again, with the right situation, he could be very impactful. I like Mike Davis for what I've seen of him. He's a running back out of South Carolina, but he's more of a later round guy. Like I say, I've been looking for the big guys to replace Asiata and team up with McKinnon, just in case, who knows, maybe Peterson gets traded to the Cowboys, as one rumor likes to indicate, or maybe they
Jerry Tamper.
Yeah, if Jerry, apparently called him, or he called Jerry, or something like that. I can't remember what the situation was. But there's something weird, and I know that he's from that area in Texas, and he would love to go back there and play. He also has a home in Houston, but I don't see the Texans making a play with they have the stable running backs already. But yeah, those would be some running backs that I've looked at that I like. Wide receivers, I'm interested in seeing where Devontae Parker goes. I mean, I would love for him to be in Minnesota, but I don't necessarily think they need to spend their first-round draft pick on a wide receiver. But he is my favorite this year so far that I've watched. Not just because he played with Teddy, but I'm a sucker for those big-bodied, lanky, hands-catching wide receivers. And
well, what's not to like, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Titans could sure use one of those.
Well, Titans could use a lot of things.
Yeah.
It'll be there. It's interesting. For a team with the number 2 draft pick overall this year, I have heard surprisingly little about what direction people think they should go, who the best impact pick could be for them. And no one's really talking about what the Tennessee Titans are going to do. It'll be interesting to see if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do go with a quarterback with their first pick, or if they trade out, because there's a good chance there's going to be a top quarterback or just a top overall player there at number 2. And what are the Titans going to do? Because they need everything.
Yeah.
What would you like the Vikings to do with their pick?
I honestly would want them to go after a top defensive player again, kind of like last year when they got Anthony Barr, just to keep adding to that aspect of the team. I feel like the defense is maybe a few players away from being something that competes well into the playoffs. And like we were discussing at the beginning of the hangout, skill position players like wide receiver and running back are fairly deep in this class, so we don't have to take one of those early necessarily. So getting a top, defender, if Leonard Williams for some reason falls down, I would definitely want the Vikings to make a play for him. Shaq Thompson is a guy that I'm a big fan of from the University of Washington, so I'm a little biased. But I think that if you pair him on the opposite side of Anthony Barr, while Barr is the guy you want blitzing and playing the run, Thompson's the guy who's cleaning up in the back end. So, like, for example, Mike Zimmer likes to run double-A gap blitzes where he takes two linebackers and puts them right up above the center and sends them in on a blitz or maybe pulls them back into coverage. I'm warming up to the game plan of having those guys blitz, and then you have a guy like Shaq Thompson who can cover in the back end. That's one of the reasons a lot of people want him to play safety, because he has that ability to go sideline to sideline. He's got the range, and he can cover. So having someone like that can play behind that scheme, I think would be really beneficial. I don't know necessarily that I want to spend the number 11 pick on a guy like that, but I think he's absolutely in play in that range.
Where do you see Jake Clark or
Can he come back up, Teddy? I wouldn't mind that. Gosh, that's a pretty good question. Because I think he'd probably want to go someplace where he has at least a chance to compete for a second position.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Not necessarily an automatic backup. You wouldn't necessarily say send him to Oakland or some other team that recently had a young quarterback come in. I mean, honestly, Tennessee should want him around still.
Dallas needs a backup.
Dallas would be a good place for him because they're already used to having a mobile quarterback there, or a quarterback that likes to move behind the pocket anyways. And that would be something good for Jake. Gosh, and they have offensive weapons already there for him to work with.
I'd like to see him end up somewhere where he might get a shot. And, Tony Romo with his bag, you never know.
Yeah. No, yeah, exactly. The same you could say depending on if the Jets end up taking a quarterback early, or if they want to roll the dice with Geno again. Maybe they want to bring in someone like Locker to back him up.
Well, the Browns need a quarterback.
Yeah, the Browns are kind of like almost like the Titans. They could use a little bit of everything. And yeah, it sounds like they're going to lose a lot of quarterback talent depending on when they get Manziel back. And so yeah, he could work up there too.
Is there hope for Bishop Sankey to make a comeback this year?
Well, I don't know about. Would it be a comeback?
Don't call it a comeback.
Yeah, I do. I mean, again, Tennessee has issues, I think, with run blocking. It's not just Sankey, but it also, like we talked earlier, with Wisenhunt and his reliance on veterans. I think Sankey's more of a volume guy. If you give him more touches throughout the game, he's going to be playing better for you.
I think most
by the end of it.
Tell you that it works. Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think most running. Well, I think part of that is too. They helps their argument with they should be getting all the touches no matter what. They never want to leave the game. But I do think that's true at a position like running back, where you are dependent on the blocking in front of you. Yes, great running backs can still create their own yards, but you're not going to be able to do that every play no matter how good you are. And maybe he ends up kind of like Lamar Miller, who the running back for the Dolphins. He's been there for a couple of years now, but it really took them getting some other pieces on their offensive line, getting some pieces, with like Ryan Tannehill, to start being more of a threat. And now he took off this past season, both professionally and in fantasy. So maybe that's kind of what needs to happen in Tennessee. Once they upgrade some more of the offensive talent around him, he'll play a lot better. But I don't think was ever going to be a world beater like, say, Adrian Peterson is.
Yeah, he's not beast mode.
No, yeah, or Marshawn Lynch. He's not those guys.
So who should we follow on Twitter to get all the scouting know-how and get ready for the draft?
Well, you definitely need to follow everybody working for Draft Breakdown. See some of my favorites, but we mentioned Matt Waldman earlier. He's at Matt Waldman. He's got great resources for the draft. Let's see. Gosh, I feel like I know their names, but not their at names as well. But Eric Stoner is a guy I enjoy following. Always got a lot of good insights.
He disappeared for a while. He's back though.
Yeah, he is back. Sometimes social media burns you out, or maybe
It really
you got
does.
a girlfriend and didn't have the time. Who knows? But yeah, he's back now. But he's an outside the box thinker, and that's one of the things I like, because you follow so many people and it kind of becomes an echo chamber at certain points. Sometimes you need to kind of push outside of that chamber and find new areas or new ways to think about prospects, new ways to consider their usefulness. Gosh. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of good follows out there. It's kind of you just gotta, like, it's a river. You gotta jump in and just float along with it and see where it takes you.
And once again, work on tonight. Where can people find you?
Well, you can definitely find all my work at draftbreakdown.com. You can also find me on Twitter at dbjoshd.
Did you play defensive back in college?
I did not. I only played for a few years in high school. I never got a chance to play at the college level myself. I did have 2 roommates who were on the team. Thought that was cool. So I did have some access to the team while I was there, but I never played myself in college.
I was curious from the DB thing.
Oh, the DB, that's Draft Breakdown.
Oh, of course.
Very clever acronym used there.
He's a company man. I mean, come on.
Well, he should be. They do good work.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you saying so. Yeah, we're trying to be the #1 resource for everybody who wants to get in on the NFL draft game, and really just create kind of a baseline of, is education the right word? I don't know. But so people have a chance to
definitely think it's educational.
do research. Yeah, do their own research. You don't have to necessarily take the word of the big name guys at ESPN or Fox Sports or CBS Sports. And you can make your own decisions. You don't necessarily have to just go off of what they're saying, what you're reading from those places, and expand our knowledge base.
Sounds good. We're going to everybody see your T-shirt. You can stand up so we can get
Yeah, I want to see the T-shirt. We need one of those.
Yeah. And you can tell it's got a little Vikings helmet up at the top there, so you know what team.
So cute. I would totally wear that shirt. I like the Vikings.
Me too. They're a great team.
We're on the way up. Get on the bandwagon now.
They have a franchise quarterback.
While there's still room.
They have a franchise quarterback.
That's right. This is the first. There's more option else. It's a good feeling.
Okay, well, Sharona, why don't you tell everybody where to find you?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Sports by Sharona. And a quick plug, we are back, Game Over with Fast Giant Sharona. Friday morning, 10 to noon, 2 hours of nothing but sports and girl talk, so check us out.
Nice.
And you can find
Maybe
me
we can get Josh to come on and talk to us.
Yeah, I would love to.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Josh and Sharona. And due to my echo, I'm going to say good night.